Yo, what's up, guys? We're back, finally. UFC 249, going to be doing this full card breakdown and predictions video. Going to be getting it out nice and early just because I've been really pumped. I've been going over these fights. I've already done, all my work on the fights. I'm going to keep monitoring them. I'll probably be giving some other videos regarding this event, as the coming weeks come on. But this is going to be the full card breakdown and predictions video. Pretty excited for this card, man. I mean, the two fights at the top of the card are incredible. There's a lot of great fights stacked in between. But the first fight of the night here, Sam Alvey taking on Ryan Spann. This is going to be a light heavyweight fight. They were scheduled to fight on the April 18th card, so these guys have been training. They're probably going to be, in relatively good shape. Spann, he was scheduled to fight on March 21st as well versus Paul Craig, but that fight obviously got canceled. He should be, like I said, ready to go here. He's been on fire. He's undefeated in the UFC. He has back-to-back finishes. Definitely is consistently improving and getting better as the years goes on. On the feet, he's still pretty basic, I would say, but he's long, he's fast, he's a powerful athlete. He does have an 81.5-inch reach, and he uses it really well. That's a very, very huge asset for him in his fights. He's good at walking opponents down. He'll control the distance with the jab, pull counter, stay at his range very well. He really likes to throw the 1-2 combination. Really has a heavy straight right hand in the pocket. Spann definitely has fast hands as well. He'll throw some nice hooks, uppercuts. He can get a little bit crazy inside. He could throw a little wild. His counter left hook is pretty nice, though. In his match with Nogueira, he landed that counter left hook. His hand speed was just too much, man. He clipped Nogueira many times, finished him. And he rocked Devin Clark, had him looking pretty scared to throw back at him for the majority of the fight. And, he eventually finished him with the guillotine. He showed some good finishing instincts in that one. He had a pretty nice uppercut when he fought Nogueira that finished off that fight. He's definitely flash power, But Ryan Spann's grappling is the best part of his game to me. He doesn't have the greatest wrestling, but his wrestling is improving, and he was able to take down Nogueira. He quickly locked in an arm triangle as well. He was pretty close on it, and he's pretty good on top. He has strong ground and pound, but the most dangerous aspect of his game, his whole game, striking on the ground, in my opinion, is definitely his guillotine. It really is nasty, man. You could snap it on really quickly, snatch it up. He uses it very well to negate takedowns. He'll catch it in scrambles. You always have to be wary of it, man, and you're, if you put your head in the wrong spot, he's going to take it home with him. So, his defensive wrestling is a bit questionable. He was taken down fairly easily when he fought Luis Henrique. And off his back, he does look improved. When he fought Henrique, he was controlled rather easily, but he showed good get-ups when he fought Devin Clark. In this fight, obviously, with Sam Alvey, I don't envision him having to, defend that much of a wrestling-heavy game, but Sam Alvey, he's going to be making the switch. He was also supposed to fight on March 28th, but now with that card being scrapped, obviously he's fighting here, and he's lost 3 consecutive fights, so he's likely fighting for his UFC career here, and, he definitely is going to have a lot to fight for, but he fights similarly in almost every fight. He likes to play the counter game, look for a one-punch knockout. He is a southpaw, and he definitely has power. His 2 major weapons are his right hook and his left hand. And he's added a couple things to his arsenal. He has started to use the low kicks a little more, trying to use his jab a little more. But he just doesn't throw much volume in, and he allows his opponents to lead the dance a lot. He'll go backwards for entire fights if you pressure him. He does like to use flurries late in rounds to try to steal the rounds. He did that very effectively versus John Vellante. And when he hurts an opponent, he will swarm, throw the kitchen sink. He's a finisher. And he's always been very durable. He eats shots to give shots. He's dangerous in exchanges. But recently, he's been getting hurt more. I would say he's had some early stoppage losses go against him. But, he hasn't been showing the greatest chin or as good of a chin as he had in the past in recent fights. Overall, Alvey has 19 knockout wins. He's only been knocked out 3 times. But 2 of his last 3 fights have been finishes due to strikes. But Sam is very good defensively as a grappler. Strong takedown defense, good get-ups. He uses the cage to get back to his feet very well. And he will attack with front chokes of his own. We saw that against Eric Spicely. He caught a front choke submission. If he does get taken down, he doesn't settle. He'll try to get up immediately. In his last match, he got taken down by a black belt, and he got his back taken, but he was able to turn in and control Breu in his guard for a minute or so, and he showed, good grappling there. He doesn't go for takedowns himself very often, which I think is a mistake. In 18 UFC fights, Alvi has 1 takedown, so he's just not very dangerous with that. He only has 3 career submissions as well, so isn't dangerous with that much either. He has been submitted just 1 time, so to finish this guy is pretty hard. Alvi has okay cardio, but doesn't throw enough volume to even warrant him getting tired, and he has shown, gassing in the past, but a lot of those fights were at 185. Alvi, he has to show more aggressiveness here, bottom line. He can't allow himself to get walked down and push towards the cage. His job is likely on the line. He needs to fight like it, but to be honest, man, Ryan Span's last 2 performances have been pretty impressive. He's shown very fast hand speed, power, killer instinct. He did, show a flaw, getting a little bit sloppy going for the finish against Devin Clark that he's done in the past as well. He gets a little bit sloppy when he hurts guys, and he ate some big shots in return from Clark, but eventually locked that guillotine in, finished the fight. I just feel here that Alvi will likely get backed up. Span will be able to control distance with his long-range strikes, with his 1-2s, with his speed, and he hits very hard. I could see him hurting Sam. Sam does have the chance to land a shot and put him out if he exits tall or he's sloppy in an exchange. But I think you have to pick Ryan Span here. I mean, I hope Sam Alvi can go out there and get it done, but my pick is going to be Ryan Span. And coming up next year, man, we have an awesome fight. Brice Mitchell taking on Charles Rosa. This is one of the sleeper fights on the card. And Brice Mitchell, man, he's done well for himself so far in his UFC career. He has a fun personality out of the cage, an entertaining fight style. Caught a twister in his last match. His grappling has looked really good lately. And he's a striker. But I would say his striking sometimes can look a little average. He doesn't really have great hands, so relies heavily on kicks, stance switching, being tricky. He will throw a lot of front leg side kicks, body head, and he's developed a good straight down the middle. He did sit down Bobby Moffett with that shot, and Mitchell, he doesn't really throw hands though. He will trade hooks in the pocket. He has a decent uppercut. He has that straight, like I just said, but he's just sloppy in exchanges. He looks uncomfortable at times. Doesn't hit the hardest either, so he can be outgunned. And especially in firefights, it seems like he just doesn't have the power to make his opponent respect him 100%. The thing is, though, Mitchell has been steadily getting bigger, putting on more weight, which I do think maybe will help him with the power a little bit. Mitchell, he's just not a guy that's going to knock you out, though. When he struggles to get fights to the ground, you definitely start to see his opponents walk him down, get confident. He struggles with forward pressure. He does have a lot of heart. He has a strong chin. He's never been finished by strikes, but he's also never finished anyone with strikes. So Mitchell, not a guy that's out there trying to knock you out. But his grappling, that's his thing, man. He's a very dangerous grappler. He's improved his wrestling, but the jiu-jitsu aspect is really where he shines through. Good job of, timing singles, doubles, especially if his opponents are near the cage. He's also good at getting his hands connected, dumping opponents, and in top position, very aggressive. He loves to take the back. In his last match, he was passing very well. He was mounting like butter. He landed some heavy shots there. Showed great riding ability. He was transitioning to dangerous positions and eventually caught a twister, man. So once Mitchell does take the back, he's very dangerous. He'll attack with the rear naked choke. He'll attack with arm bars. He'll try to get that crucifix position. It seems like everywhere when he can get a finishing spot, he's going for it, and he's going with a variety of different submissions. He's definitely worked his game on the ground to be very dangerous, but his takedown defense is not the best. He almost welcomes being on his back, and he will attack Kimuras to counter takedowns, but hasn't been very effective with that in the UFC. Mitchell will, attack off his back. You could see that 10th planet influence. He'll use the rubber guard, good triangle, very flexible legs. He can create armbar triangle opportunities, and he's very good at attacking with elbows as well from inside his guard. He also has a nice half guard sweep. He's also very good at creating scrambles, but against high-level wrestlers with good top pressure, good riding ability, I think he's going to struggle. He has gotten held down in fights. We've seen that against Brad Katona, Tyler Diamond. And when he gets controlled on his back, he tends to get very tired. Mitchell, he tends to give his back to stand up as well. Katona was able to catch him in a rear naked choke. And Mitchell's a guy who fades. 8 of his 9 submissions have happened in the first round. He is 4-0 in decisions, but both his decisions in the UFC have been very close. His cardio is definitely not as good as Rosa's. In the third round, I think Rosa's going to try to put him on him if he's still there. And Mitchell's going to go out there, hard, try to take Rosa out in that first round, I think. But Charles Rosa, he's looking to play spoiler as a big underdog once again here. He was able to forward the plans of Manny Bermudez. He was a sizable underdog in that fight. And there was a bit of controversy there. He did hold the cage while he had the armbar locked in. Either way, Rosa got the first round submission, and he has another big opportunity here. And Rosa, he had a large portion of his career stagnate due to injuries. Needs to get going here. He is a karate striker, wide stance. He moves in and out. He's always switching stances, giving different looks, and he has nice kicks, inside, outside, low kicks, oblique kicks. He'll throw outside low kicks to round kicks to the body, along with the front leg side kicks to the body. Good 1-2s, nice straight left, straight right. He'll switch stances, and he's very fast closing the distance. He'll throw a nice left hook overhand right combination, but he can get wild with his punches. He can duck his head, and he can enter range with his hands down. He can wing a little bit with his overhands, with his hooks. He's a little bit susceptible to counters, but he has some nice spinning kicks both to the body, to the head, jumping roundhouse kicks, spinning back fist. And he's good when he's going backwards, using movement, controlling distance. And if fighters can cut him off, though, force him to box or catch him with counters as he enters, he kind of can look a little bit ordinary. But he doesn't have the best boxing in close range. He can get very wild, hittable. So he needs to kind of keep this fight on the outside. Kind of these guys are similar on the feet. Shane Burgos did struggle early on with the movement, but eventually he was able to land some shots and take him out. And Rosa, he just gets caught in exchanges. He gets hit with a lot of punches, but he definitely is very tough. He has a great chin. The one time he's been finished in his career, he was still standing up, and he protested immediately. And he has 2 KO TKOs. He just isn't a big power striker. And but Rosa's good at defending. He's very good at defending submissions. He also, has decent wrestling as well. Like if he takes you down inside your guard, he's good at defending the triangles, passing the legs, getting to that wrestling ride position. His top control isn't the greatest. Fighters have been able to scramble on bottom against him, but he's relentless with his wrestling in certain fights. I mean, he'll go for multiple takedowns in a round. He'll continue to doggedly try to get him. He does do a good job of catching front chokes and scrambles. A lot of different front chokes, guillotines, anacondas, darces, Peruvian neckties, and it makes it dangerous to shoot in on him. And he can also, catch things off his back, which we saw in his last fight. He's very good with leg locks. He has nice sweeps, good arm bars, good triangles, and he's never been submitted in his career. He's also going to be the bigger guy here. He's competed as high as welterweight before, and one of Rosa's biggest assets are just his will and his cardio, man. He's willing to push through fatigue, usually wins that third round against everyone he fights, and in this fight, I think he needs to go forward, push a wrestling, heavy, grinding pace, be aware of the submissions, but just try to dog Mitchell out. And this is an interesting fight because there are paths to victory for Rosa. He can get the submission. He has shown he's good off his back and in scrambles. And Mitchell's given the back in the past, Rosa, his striking is awkward. I think he'll probably be the better striker here. But Brice is younger. He's improving every fight. I think he has the better wrestling. And if he can get the takedowns, I don't think Rosa will be able to get a submission from bottom again, most likely. Mitchell has a strong top game, good passing ability, good riding. He's going on a wave of momentum right now. And I think he just could get takedowns and kind of dominate by riding out Rosa or even getting a submission or TKO with ground and pound. The third round could get a little bit dicey if it gets there. But, my pick is going to be Thug Nasty, Brice Mitchell. Up next, here we have another awesome fight. It's a rematch. It's Vicente Luque taking on Nico Price. And these guys fought a couple years ago. Vicente Luque kind of got a dominant victory. But, a lot of things have changed. And Luque definitely needs to bounce back here. He had a rough outing in his last fight. He got dominated. He got beat up very badly by Stephen Thompson. Luque is now going to be taking a step down in competition. He's facing an opponent he's finished before. And he's taken a lot of damage, though, since that fight. He's had absolute wars with guys like Wonderboy, Perry, Brian Barberina. And for Nico Price, he's getting a big opportunity here. He's looking to avenge a loss. He's facing Luque for a second time. And he was dominated in the first fight. He got hurt on the feet. Then he got submitted. But Nico's done some good work since then. He's been trading wins and losses. But he just is coming off a highlight reel KO against James Vick. Seems like whenever this guy gets the victory, it's a highlight reel KO. And with this matchup, when I look at their first fight in 2017, both of their recent fights, I just don't see many differences. Luque still walks opponents down. He has that tight high guard, heavy low kicks, nice straight punch combos, knees, finishing instincts. Nico Price, to me, hasn't really changed at all. He's still the same wild, unrefined guy. He relies on his toughness and really relies on his opponents making a mistake. In the first matchup, Price had his jab shut down by the low kicks of Luque. He, got walked down. He really didn't mount much offense there. And Price, he was aware of the counters, the straight punches when he opened up, so he really didn't want to throw a lot of volume. Luque was just very confident walking him down, was controlling the action against the cage. He was opening up with combos, and he had a ton of success with the straight punches. Price has always been very susceptible to straight punches, even throughout all his career, and he just stands a little tall. There's just always that chance with Price, though, that he can catch you with that KO, but that would require Luque to make a mistake, in my opinion. Luque is the better striker. He's a better grappler. I think he has more composure. He should win this fight. I don't expect this fight to go to the ground, most likely, unless Price panic wrestles when he's hurt. Price off his back really isn't great technically to me, but he's always looking to land that opening and finish the fight. I mean, he has 2 finishes off of his back in the UFC, but against a really good jiu-jitsu guy like Luque, I just don't think that's where he wants to be. Nothing from their first fight or their fights since have just made me think Price should win. I think Luque is going to finish him again here. I mean, I just don't see why people would pick Nico Price in the second fight. I don't think their styles have changed at all, and I think Luque is still a bad matchup for Price, and due to that, I got to go with Vicente Luque here. Up next here, man, yeah, this is a prelim. We got another sick fight. Jacare Souza taking on Uriah Hall. And Jacare, I mean, he's in search of answers. He's had back-to-back losses. He's been switching divisions, and he's making the move back down to middleweight. He had a split decision loss to Jan Blachowicz at light heavyweight his last time out. And he's getting up there. He needs to prove he still has it. He's 40 years old. A lot of people feel he doesn't have it anymore. And if Jacare can't beat a guy like Uriah Hall, man, it may be time for him to call it a career. But Uriah Hall, he's had a bit of a career resurgence, I would say, since moving to Fortis. He's won back-to-back fights. He is coming off one of the biggest wins of his career in Antonio Carlos Jr. And Hall's issues throughout his career have always been mental, man. He can't seem to put it all together on game day. This is his final opportunity to make a run, salvage the potential he once had. I mean, he's not young anymore, man. He's almost 36 years old. And now that he's with a great coach, he's with a good camp, this should be his best chance to do that. But, man, I mean, now with not having, the ability to train the same way that he usually did, the same regimented way that Fortis likes to do, that could all be thrown out the window here. If Uriah Hall can't get this win, though, over a guy like Jacare, that will, move him into a completely different class of fighter. That'll move him into a guy that actually has to be, thought about in terms of someone that could potentially contend and be an interesting guy for the top-level guys. And this is a very interesting fight. A couple years ago, it'd be Jacare all day. But, man, it's a new day. It's a new time. Uriah Hall's coming off beating another elite jiu-jitsu guy. He survived some bad positions versus Antonio Carlos Jr., and, he must be feeling confident, but ACJ doesn't have the power striking of a guy like Jacare. Hall, he's going to have a major reach and speed advantage. In his last match, he did a good job fighting, very disciplined. He worked behind the jab, the left hook, straight punches. He has a sick jab, man. Really good 1-2. Really puts power into his punches, and he broke Antonio Carlos Jr.'s nose badly, which was a huge factor in the fight. And obviously he's dynamic with good movement, kicks. He can close the show with 1 punch, 1 kick, 1 knee. And he's still a very dangerous fight for anyone, man. He still gets backed up and can just explode on you and finish you. There's a lot of times where he's being dominated. He comes back, gets the win. But he still, can be clipped with shots over the top. If I'm Hall, the game plan is simple. Try to pressure behind feints. Use the jab. Keep the fight in the center. Use lateral footwork. Don't let Jacare land. Don't let him get inside or get a hold of you. And I feel if he doesn't get Jacare out of there early, I think Jacare, a lot of people talk about Jacare's cardio, but I think Jacare is going to start going body head. I think he's going to start landing the hooks like he does. I think he's going to come over the top with the overhands, start looking for takedowns. I don't see Hall having that same takedown defense or strength in a clinch that Jan did. And Jacare, he showed improved head movement. And when he gets inside, he throws with bad intentions. He's also willing to eat punches to get inside, and I feel he's just much tougher than Hall. Jacare, he's been finished a couple times by strikes, but he has a great chin. To me, Hall is more chinny than Jacare, and in a lot of fights, Hall takes a beating before he comes back. And this fight, man, if he lets Jacare hurt him or lets him rock him, I think Jacare is going to end him, man. I also think Jacare is just much more high level on the mat than Uriah. Uriah did do a good job defending the rear naked choke against Antonio Carlos Jr., but Jacare's top game is just much more vicious and dangerous than Carlos Jr.'s, in my opinion. I'm just not ready to pick Hall over Jacare. If he beats him, Jacare may be done, but I'm picking Jacare, and I think he could knock out Uriah, or I think he could submit him. So I'm picking Jacare inside the distance here. Up next here, we got one of the, this is a good fight, name value-wise, I guess, but I would say it's one of the more, boring fights on the card. But Carla Esparza, you got to respect her. She's still hanging around near the top of the strawweight division. I mean, she's been here since the beginning. She's won back-to-back fights. She's beaten up-and-comers like Cynthia Calvillo, Alexa Grasso. She beat Janda Roba. And she's improved a lot since dropping the belt. She's had a stellar career, man. And she's facing another longtime staple of women's MMA in Michelle Waterson. Michelle, she was on the best run of her career. She had that 4-fight winning streak snapped against Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She was beaten down, but she performed valiantly. She had some good positions. She took the back a couple times. She landed a couple head kicks, but just was overmatched. She's getting a totally different matchup here with Carla Esparza. And to me, this is a weird fight. He has close decision written all over it. Both girls are kind of bad matchups for each other. Waterson, she's shown good grappling, but stronger fighters like Felice Herrig were able to control her against the cage and on the ground when she took her down. If Esparza is able to get takedowns like she usually does, I think she won't have much issue holding down Waterson. I don't think Waterson will get beat up on bottom, and I'm not even sure if Carla will be able to pass her guard, but I just don't see Michelle getting up often enough. On the contrary, on the feet, Esparza, she relies a lot on opponents coming to her, where she could throw some punches, shoot in off of a kick. In this fight, Michelle, she has very good footwork. She's tight with her striking, evasive striking. I feel it'll be a lot harder to catch and take down Waterson off that front leg side kick than against most girls. But both girls, they don't have great hands. I would say Michelle's a little bit quicker. I think that has split decision written all over it. Man, I really don't want to spend much time on this fight. I don't really have a great read on it. I'm going to pick Carla Esparza by decision. Up next here, man, we got another super interesting fight. We got Fabricio Werdum taking on Alexei Oleinik, Grappler's Delight here. And Werdum, he's finally making his return. He's been off 2+ years with that USADA suspension. And he's entrenched, as a massive favorite here, which is pretty interesting because he's 42 years old now, but he is facing a fellow 42-year-old submission artist in Alexei Oleinik. This is a good test for Werdum. If he is to win, he can get a step up to see if he can compete for the belt again. If he loses, well, that would not be very good. But Werdum, he's coming off a very bad performance where he was knocked out stiff by Alexander Volkov. And Alexei Oleinik, he earned yet another submission victory in his last match. He was the underdog as usual, but he really dominated Maurice Green before getting the finish. And Oleinik, he's actually performed well against these legend heavyweights. He was able to defeat Mirko Krokop. He defeated Mark Hunt. He did lose to Overeem, but he had some early success in that fight. And this is another chance for him to get a marquee win on his ledger. He's been asking for this fight for a long time, so I imagine he likes the matchup. He's going to be ready to go. First off, I just want to say, man, Alexei Oleinik, he's a fucking gangster, man. He's had some awesome fights in the UFC. Sick first-shot knockout of Jared Roshaw. Went to war with Travis Brown, Curtis Blades, Overeem. Ezekiel choked a couple guys. He's just a dangerous dude. His striking, isn't the most technical, but it's very awkward, and he can knock you out. He plods forward, but can be very square. He loads up on a lot of shots, but he's super durable, and he throws hammers. Solid low kicks also, but really his shots that are dangerous are his overhands, his hooks. He'll throw these casting hooks, very heavy overhands, nice uppercuts, and he actually slips pretty well. He can avoid a lot of punches, good forward pressure, nice clinch striking. He'll attack heavy to the body, to the head with the uppercuts and the clinch. He has a great chin also, man. He can eat bombs. He'll continue to come forward and just make it a sloppy war. He's good at surviving when he gets hurt as well. He usually gets TKO'd just from getting tired, but he pushes a crazy pace for a heavyweight. So does Werdum, so it's going to be interesting. I feel he could maybe clip Werdum if they just brawl. I think that's going to be his best chance of winning if it stays on the feet. But Werdum has good striking. He covers up a lot, though. He doesn't move his feet, and he could be open at times. He can open up, be susceptible to counters. We saw that against Stipe. He's also going to be older, a little bit slower. I would say his chin, hasn't been great his whole career, so I do feel Werdum has the wider arsenal of strikes. He'll throw jumping attacks, spins. Probably has the better boxing. Definitely has the better kicks, but he struggles with forward pressure. I could see him getting tagged over, a little bit over or around his guard. If he decides to strike or get in a sloppy trade, I think it could be, to Alexi's advantage potentially. I think Alexi has more KO power. In the grappling realm, I just don't see Oleinik being able to take down Werdum. And he's also very easy to take down himself. He does have a decent ability to get takedowns in the clinch, Oleinik. He'll circle to the back, pull you down, but I just don't see him doing that to Fabricio. And he comes in square, doesn't have good takedown defense, like I said. He almost invites you to take him down. In the clinch, he will, look to lock up the Ezekiel and pull you to the ground, pull guard, which he did do that successfully versus Junior Albini. If you don't know what he's doing, he can catch you with it. But against a guy like Werdum, that isn't going to happen. I feel the easiest path to victory for Werdum is really to work the single leg, just control on half guard or side control. Alexi does have a decent guard. He can throw up triangles. He'll sweep. He does unorthodox things with his leg, like squeezing the body. But he's gotten his guard pass from going for triangles pretty easily. Alexi's definitely more of a top game player, and that's why I think Fabricio may be able to just control and dominate him from top position. Most of Oleinik's subs, are Ezekiel's neck cranks, rear nakeds. If Oleinik is able to use his guard to stand back up or defend the takedowns and make Werdum tired, he has a chance. But to be honest, I think Werdum will be able to take him down easily. I think when he feels pressured, when he's in danger, he's just going to hit that single. And Werdum is a beast in top position, man. He's excellent at getting the back. He'll attack arm bars, rear naked. He's also very good off of his back and his guard. He'll attack arm bars, triangles. And it's a bit of a crapshoot because Werdum is older. He hasn't been active, but I'm sticking with him. I think he's going to win via submission in round 2 or TKO. I also could see him maybe landing a knee, a flying knee, a step-in knee. And this fight could be very sloppy if both guys get tired. And looking at the money line, I definitely feel it's dog or pass, but my pick is going to be Fabricio Werdum to get it done here. And we're coming up here on the last prelim, and shit, man, what a crazy rematch this is, right? Donald Cerrone taking on Anthony Pettis, two old warhorses. And, in the first fight, Pettis, he dusted Cerrone very quickly. But, this isn't the first fight anymore, and it's going to be at 170 pounds. So, both guys have seen their better days. They're riding losing streaks. The loser's going to be in a very tough position. So, this is still an important fight for both guys. Cerrone, he's lost 3 in a row, but when you look at who he's lost to the 2 guys in the main event, Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje, and Conor McGregor. So, no shame in that. And Pettis has faced, pretty good level opposition, but, guys like Carlos Diego Ferreira, Nate Diaz, I don't think you could put them at the level of a Gaethje, a Tony, or a Conor McGregor. And Cerrone, he's coming off the heels, though, of one of the most disappointing performances of his career. He went in there against Cowboy. Everyone knows what happened. He got dominated, didn't even land a single strike. And, that sucks for Cowboy, a longtime guy. But if you ask me, he has to be fired up off that. And if you ask me, Donald Starr's more fire left than Pettis. That doesn't mean you'll win the fight, but in the first matchup, Pettis really dominated when he switched to southpaw. Cerrone, he's always notoriously struggled with southpaws, and it was no different that night. Pettis, he was successful with the right hook, with the straight left, but the left kick, closed the show. He landed 2 heavy liver kicks, finished him off within 2.5 minutes. And if you watch that fight, man, Pettis, he's so much faster. He's lighter on his feet than nowadays, man. He was in superb shape back then. And at 170, man, he's chunky, he's a little slow, and he's not as dynamic either. Cerrone, to me, has maintained his physical level better. Both guys have taken a lot of damage, in terms of, head damage, body damage. But with this fight, I do feel Cowboy has a better chance with Pettis being slower and older to get the win back. He needs to pressure, try to back Pettis towards the cage. He can't get clipped with the counters. And if Cerrone can get in the clinch or in on a double, he should be able to take Pettis down, man. He's the bigger guy, physically stronger. He's definitely the better wrestler. if Cerrone can just follow the game plan of grappling, I would be inclined to pick him all day here. But it's just tough to know what Cowboy wants to do because he may just go in there and try to, strike with Pettis. Pettis is still powerful. He's still dangerous. He has a nice lead hook from both stances, quick overhands, good straight punches. His kicks, haven't been used as much lately, but I would say he needs to bring them back here. His low kicks are always there. I imagine he's going to be a southpaw again here, try to walk Cerrone into, offense, those head kicks, the body kicks, the straight left, the right hook. We saw in Cerrone's last fight he got caught with the head kick versus southpaw. Pettis fades quickly now, though. If you pressure him especially, he's still dangerous in the early rounds, really in round 1, but he just can't sustain that pace. I'm actually going to pick Donald Cerrone here. I don't know why, but I just think he has a little more left. I think he's going to be able to dig deeper, maybe land some nice shots, get a couple takedowns, control against the fence. I'm going to say he takes a decision in a fun back-and-forth fight. I think both guys are going to bring it, but I think Cowboy's going to get a decision.